Welcome back to the podcast from Duran.
And I'm Mike.
And this is Before We Forget. So before we forget, everybody out there, could y'all like, comment, and subscribe? Go follow the page. We got a YouTube, we got X, we got Facebook, we got Spotify, we got Apple Podcasts. That's because I always say Apple Music. I don't know why. I don't know. We're pinning on TikTok, I guess. But go follow us, man. So we tapping in. How you been, bro?
I'm good. I can't complain.
You good?
I'm feeling better than ever.
That's what's up. That's
How
what's
about
up.
yourself?
I'm questionable. You know me. I like to keep my status a mystery.
Speaking of mysteries,
Here we go. What you got?
that kind of brings me into today's question. I don't know how we segmented into that question from this, but today's question:
What's up?
as you get older, should you lower your standards?
No,
Why?
because if anything, you've gained more wisdom. So I say wisdom and knowledge because there's a difference. You've gained more knowledge and a little bit of wisdom. You should be able to set the standards for things that you like and dislike, and things you are willing to accept and willing to not accept. I feel like that's a part of growth. So no, I don't feel like you should lower your standards. If anything, that's the complete opposite to me. How about yourself? What was you
See,
thinking?
but the reason I asked that is because as you're getting older, the dating pool is starting to change, right? So we have, let's just say, the men or the women who want somebody who don't have a kid, who don't have this, don't have that. How can you expect us to be about to be 35 this year, right? How can you expect a man or a woman to be 35 and not have a kid and not and still expect a large selection of men in the dating pool or women in the dating pool at that?
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it's wrong to have preference. So that also goes into your preferences. If you prefer that, I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it. Now, if you just trying to get to like a means to an end, then sure you change them. But I don't consider that as part of changing my stance or standards for dating. So since you actually put like a variable in there and put dating on top of changing your standards, me personally, let's just say I was out here on the streets again. I don't think I would change my standards, especially based off of what I know now, because I feel like I want this type of person or this type of thing. So now I'm gonna wait on it. I'm not in a rush to try to get it. Like, oh well, I'm not gonna get this, so that's unrealistic. Let's check that off. Now, obviously, if it's something that's crazy, then you got to change that because you're not being truthful with yourself.
But I do feel like there has to be some standards that are either dropped or lowered, right? Like when we talk about the kids thing, how many people, like, legitimately, if you met a woman and you checked every single box, just say you're back in the water, you check every single box, and then she go, "Oh, you got kids. Never mind."
I can't be mad at nobody for their standard. I could check every box. Maybe they'll come swing back around. So when I say standards, I mean like not compromising or changing the totality of your standards. And you're saying like, okay, I can tweak this here and there because 95% of my check boxes are checked off, right?
I mean, yeah, standards are standards. This is what you're looking for in a partner. And some people have what are considered non-negotiables.
Right. But
And do those non-negotiables become negotiables as you get older?
see, that alters the question for me in the
Because those are
sense.
still the standards, right?
No, because non-negotiables mean you are interested in somebody and you want to be with them. So them not having this particular thing or the standard that you said shouldn't alter that. When I say standards, I mean like I'm willing to not accept this person and have this person do this or do that because now I didn't have a plate and I didn't have what I want to eat on the plate. So I want those things, and I want to be able to customize some of those things. So
Yeah.
I change it. Now I wouldn't say that they're non-negotiables because non-negotiables is just unrealistic. That remember I said unrealistic stuff. That's unrealistic to say that somebody's gonna hit this check mark box 100%. Like you
True, but
said, it's you.
so, but your non-negotiables may be 3 or 4 things, right? You may want somebody who's godly, want somebody who has no kids, want somebody who, makes 6 figures, and want somebody who like you may have these standards, right? But as you get older, what are the odds that you're gonna find like as a woman, what are the odds that you're gonna find a man who makes 6 figures who may want a woman with kids, or a man who doesn't have kids at all who wants you?
Right.
So that's where I'm getting to it is like, at what point do you need to look at your life and realize that you're not 21, 22, 25, 27, and adjust those standards that you've set for what you're looking for? Or do you
No,
stick
it's
by
not.
those nonstop?
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's unrealistic to have your standards set to stuff like that because you're not in that area no more, like you said. So why would I set my standards to that, or why wouldn't I adjust them? I'm saying your core basic standards is something I wouldn't change. That clearly couldn't apply to what I got going on. One, let's just use that example. If somebody came on and they was, or I was talking to somebody and I was like, "Oh, you got kids? Well, I got kids." So I kind of would hope that somebody may or may not have a child, or at least want to have them, because that's non-negotiable for me. I'm an active dad. I love my kids more than anything else. So you're going to see them, they're going to be here. And if that's the problem with you, you're going to be the one leaving, not them.
And I mean, you may want somebody, she may have kids, but she don't want more kids. Or what if it's a situation, because I've met women who are like, my kids are out of diapers. I don't want nobody with a young kid. And it's just like, that shrinks that dating pool or what you're looking for so much, on top of whatever other standards that you have. Should people actually open that up to get to know people instead? Or is that and like you said, there are core standards that I feel like people are gonna, if you want somebody godly or who's in church, like I feel like that's one of those core standards that you got to stick by. I want somebody who respects me. That's a core standard. You're not going to change and be like, oh yeah, I'll take somebody who curses me out or yells at me or this or that. Like, I don't see that happening. But then it's just like those more superficial standards that I'm like, do those change at a certain point?
On superficial ones, I'm gonna say yeah. If we talking about that, because like I said, anything that's unrealistic, I'm not finna sit here and make up something I know that's not gonna happen, or something that's just super crazy and expected. Because with everything that you accept, it's a cost. You got to pay for that.
Okay. So here's why I asked this, right? I'm watching this show. I won't say it because we're not sponsored by them. But in this show, this woman set her standards for this man that she's dating ish, kind of dating, right? But she immediately has an issue when originally she was asked, like, do you care if this person lives at home? Like all of this stuff. And she originally was like, no, that doesn't bother me as long as he's planning not to live at home. Like, especially if we're dating or we're getting married and we're moving in together, like I don't want him to be like, yeah, move into, my parents' basement or whatever. But for like literally 6 episodes, she focused on the fact that this man lived in his parents' basement. And it's even like
Past tense.
huh?
Past tense.
No, currently.
Okay.
Like while they were together, he lived there, and he explained it. His mom explained it when she met him, and she's just stuck on the fact that like, oh, but you're in your parents' basement. And it's just like, these are the standards that you gave and you set, and they went and found somebody who met these standards. And then it's like, now you're kind of moving the target, and you're not young. You're not 20, you're not 21. This woman's in her 30s, right? And I'm not saying that's old, but I'm just saying, like, you are pushing that clock that women have. And so it's like, should your standards change? Should you have been more open to that? Or
I think in her case, she should have been more open to it. So I'll meet you somewhere in the middle and say it's case by case basis. I don't think you should change your core values, but for things like that, especially if it's what I think you're talking about, you got to go into that with a lot of openness and understanding, because you're trying to crush a whole bunch of information into this short time period that you have with somebody. So you trying to get to know them, you trying to understand where they come from, where they grew up. Then you got to try to integrate a little bit of their family, and it's still a show. So you got to deal with the semantics that come with that. And then you actually got to try to fall in love with this person. So if that's what you're trying to do, or you could just put on a good show. So in her case, to keep on emphasizing on it, you instantly close that door because you got in your own head about it. Like, oh, well, he used to stay at home. I can't have that. Somebody gonna talk about me, blah blah blah. This is embarrassing. Like, why would I want to do that? This is exactly what I said. But then, like, if he's everything else that you wanted, I think it's worth the shot and checking it out.
But that's the thing, she couldn't get past
right
that portion of it.
Right. So you potentially
realize
you lost somebody that was really good for you because they couldn't get out their parents' basement. Now, getting with you and being in this experiment or being in this zone with you might have pushed that person to do that, and then you could have built on that. But instead, you was focused on minute details, and it's stuff like that that bothers me.
See, and that's the thing. Like, she asked him almost every episode, and every time he's like, I only sleep there. So why would I pay for my own place? And I'm always at work. I'm working one job, then I leave that job, go to another job, then I come home and I sleep, and then I do it again. So he was like, for me, I was just paying for a place to sleep at when, me and my parents are close. We have a great relationship. I love my parents. They love me. They had empty space in the basement, and it's like, it's not like a basement. There's a separate entrance to it. It's like its own kitchen, own bathroom, like everything down there that he needs to never see his parents. And so it's just like, I get you don't want to feel like you're in high school and he's sneaking you down to the basement. That's fine. But if this man is working and saving up and saying, like, I literally can move out at any minute. Like, if we're serious and we're looking to move in together, we can pull that trigger.
Right. But that's the thing. You see how you just rationalize that is in her mind, she was so worried about him being in her parents' basement and worried about this standard that she emphasized it so hard that didn't even occur to her. If this man is working 2 jobs and he not going on no lavish trips doing nothing, and he just coming home to sleep, where do you think all that money going?
Right.
He could easily take care of you. He's just trying to get to know you as a person and get to build that relationship. But you were belittling him. So that's giving him a preview. If he continued to go down this road with you and somehow you tweaked your standard just a little bit, that this wouldn't be good for him, because one little thing like that would just throw you off. So he dodged a bullet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know. You didn't agree.
I want to tell people
the way I wanted you
like
to.
I want to tell people. Well, it's also because I saw more of this show. Right. I've dived a little bit deeper, and I feel like had she overcome those standards, a lot of this probably wouldn't have happened. But that's outside of that point. I do feel like that, like what you said, there should have been some overlooking or opening up of those standards, especially in the experiment that this person was trying. But there wasn't. And I feel like in life's experiments, a lot of people never get to those experiments in life because they're they're setting the standard ways.
That's what's wrong with everybody. Either you got standards or you don't. So today's day and age, I don't feel like none of these kids, because I can say that now, none of these kids
Yeah,
got
you
no
unk
standards.
status.
Yeah, I don't care. None of these kids got no standards. They ain't got no goals, no nothing. They just out here doing stuff. And the first sign of something going wrong, especially if it's something that's embarrassing to their friends, man, you might as well wrap it up, B. Then y'all not in that relationship no more. Y'all not uh rocking or being solid or nothing. Nobody don't even know what being solid mean.
So I'm just leading on to our next question here because I got a few things, right?
Right.
We talked about
we're talking on this microphone that make me yawn, dog. Every time.
every single time.
I just spent this whole time talking and then yawn until we turned this microphone on.
We talking about so old boy was living in his parents' basement, right?
The basement.
Great relationship with his parents, like him and his parents. He's like Samoan. So you know how like
Yeah, family
they
oriented.
family is like big. It's a big cultural thing. And he was bringing this woman in, and you could tell, like, almost feel that his mom did not like her. And so that kind of brought up the question, like, can a relationship work if the parents don't like your spouse?
Well, you know that's a jaded question for me, so
Why?
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say from experience, it could work because your parents ain't the one that got to be with that person. You are. It does suck because you want the approval of your parents, but at the end of the day, I ain't even gonna say that. Like, you supposed to move on from your parents' household and become your own person. So that means that now your parents really just become happy suggestions. So it's like, well, you should do this because X, Y, and Z, and I know. Okay, cool. Well, you gotta let me experience that and make those decisions for myself. You don't have to buy clothes and feed me and pay for my housing, stuff like that. So when it comes to certain decisions, you got to let me make those decisions. You can't really control it. And I know some parents or some families they do that, but I just feel like that's just a sense of not letting your kid grow up or obtain some sort of maturity. You can't do everything for your kids.
That's true, but does it not make it so much harder?
No, it makes it harder on the relationship that you have. But at the end of the day, I know me. I'm gonna still love my parents and love them for who they are. But you just can't influence who I'm gonna be with. So, because you don't have to be with them, whether you like them or not. That could come from you just not liking the profession that they chose, or you don't actually know them. And sometimes when you have those situations where the parents don't necessarily agree with your partner, they didn't even give them a chance to present who they are. So how could you like somebody you don't know? And you can get a bad feeling. You got gut feelings, and sometimes it's things that you know, but some things you can see that. But sometimes it's really just be the parents just wanting not to lose control. It's a control thing.
So if you touched a stove and you burnt yourself, would you watch your kid burn themselves, or would you tell them, don't touch that stove, it's hot and you're going to burn yourself?
That's a horrible example because all black people have done that same exact thing you just said. And I'm gonna say it to you just how you said it to me. My mama was in the bathroom with the curling iron, and she told me stop coming in there messing with her while she's doing that. And she said, "Don't touch this curling iron; it's hot." So I left out the bathroom. I came back in there. Guess what I did?
Mm-hmm.
Went right in there, playing around, touched the curling iron on my way back out. It wasn't like I was trying to play with it, but I got the cord and it was them skinny curling irons. So when it came down, it burned me. So guess who got a burn mark on their arm right here?
Okay. So your thing is, if you saw your kid doing something similar, you're going to say something, right?
No, I'm gonna let them burn themselves. Or
That's so messed up.
I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm
That's
like,
so messed up.
hey, get out of there because it's hot and you gonna burn your hand. And then he's like, okay. and then I hear.
And you just gonna be like, I told you.
Yep,
But
that's
you
it.
gave that warning, right?
You get everybody
And I
gets
feel
one.
like some parents see signs of like people they've been with and where this has gone. Oh man, something they're doing right now is something that I put up with. And I don't like this kid because I know where it's gonna lead to with you, right? So I feel like some parents are like trying to protect their child, not being overbearing. Now there's some parents that are just overbearing. I want all your attention. You my kid. I birthed you.
You gotta
Whatever.
take that with a grain of salt though, because your parents supposed to be wise, and some parents do know. I did leave room for that, but outside of that, I'm not trying to hear that. All right, if nobody can tell on the podcast, I'm very what they consider rebellious and I'm opinionated, and I'm well in tune with my feelings.
I think it's hard to make a relationship work if parents don't like your spouse and it's like actively shown because you're always going to be at odds.
Okay, so let me ask you this: so when that happens, whose fault is this? Is it the parents' fault for acting overtly with their behavior, or is it the partner's
It
fault?
depends. It depends. Like I'm gonna tell you the truth.
So
If
they don't let your partner come over. They don't answer the phone when you call, and they'll come to any special events or anything.
Mhm.
And you don't think the parents is wrong,
It depends on the situation. It's a situational thing,
right? But
and I'm saying
it's
this.
situational. If you know, I'm not saying if that person is abusive,
Okay,
crazy, or
so
nothing.
you
Like
just
I'm just saying
saying
we just going on the debate. We not adding no variable.
no?
It's
The
just
parents are
they
wrong.
just don't like your. You just came in, you introduce them. That person didn't come in disrespectful. They not doing nothing to you. They treat you very well. They you just trying to, you know.
Then in that situation, parents are wrong.
Yeah, I'm not. We ain't gonna
And I
add the
think that's the
extra.
hard part. People are scared to call out their parents when they're wrong sometimes.
Right.
And at this point, we are all adults, and there's still respect. But just because I respect you, don't mean I won't tell you that what you're doing is wrong.
Right. So now let's fast forward that because we're gonna stick on that line. Then we can go back and add the craziness from the other partner there, or however we spend that. So now it's been some years. Y'all married,
Yeah.
happy, everything cool. Y'all done had kids, inviting them to the kids' birth to come out to the house. Hey, we're gonna take a vacation. Just come out, just get to know. And they just no. They always busy, never find time.
Mm-hmm.
And parents still wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about if you come in with a black eye, or you come in this person yelling at you, or they look out the window and they didn't, your partner just came in the house and there's groceries in the car and they didn't help, stuff like that. I'm talking.
But what I'm saying is I think you're still going to be at odds in some capacity because either you're at odds with your parents or you're at odds with your spouse.
Right. So
if that's there.
So I'm telling you now, I'm gonna be at odds with my parents over my spouse because you're supposed to break away from your parents and become your own man or woman.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you're not dealing with a hurt there because these are the same people who raised you and care for you and love you.
I never said it was no hurt.
And that's why I'm saying, how can that relationship work with a spouse when you're always hurt because your parents are at odds with them or they're at odds with your parents?
It can work.
I find it so much like it's hard enough getting to know and understand another human being that you grew up with. You didn't grow up with, you probably met later in life. They're set in their ways, you're growing and learning together, and it takes time. So to throw in additional obstacles of, man, these people who raised me my whole life don't like you.
Right. But
and
here's
it's actively showing it because there's a difference. You can not like somebody, but still be cordial and show up and do whatever and just be like, that's just not a person I like.
Right. But I've dealt with that from personal experience and on multiple occasions, not just once. So
and did those relationships work out?
They did. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Your current relationship?
I'm not gonna speak to that. I'm talking from experience. One worked out and the other one didn't. It's not physically impossible for that to work. I get what you're saying and the emphasis you're trying to put on it, but we just gonna have to be on two different lines of the conversation for that. For me, I would hate to see somebody let go of somebody else because their parents didn't like the person they was bringing around. Your parents need a legitimate reason for giving that type of treatment to somebody, because one, they probably didn't raise you like that. So if I'm coming around, I'm confused because I'm ready to show off my person or tell you about this phenomenal person, and you're like, no.
So do you cut your parents off?
You don't cut them off. You just love them from a distance. Like I said, you still get invites to stuff. You still come out, but you're just not gonna disrespect my husband or my wife either. While you are my parent, my I'm saying husband and wife, obviously, because I'm speaking to both parties. But my husband and wife have a place in my life that's just as high. These are going to be the father and mother of my children. They're gonna be somebody that supports me in my downtime. You're not gonna come here and have intercourse with me. You're not gonna come here and pat me on the back 24/7. Well, you'll be there because you're my parent, but I'm saying I'm not in your care anymore.
Hopefully they're not there when you're having
I
intercourse,
hope
but
not either. But you sent the bird off to fly, so let me fly. And I'm trying to fly, and you stunting it by hating it. And you don't have no reason why. Now, let's flip the coin over to what you were saying. Now, if it's somebody that's doing something crazy and you just like, oh no, we're not even gonna have them doing that, or oh, I already see them, they like a little playboy, whatever, or they, what I'm saying, that's
but
different.
but do you feel like your parents should, in a situation where it is somebody crazy, they go out to the club every weekend, or they do something that your parents just they don't agree with it, but it's not necessarily hurting you, right?
Right.
They have behaviors or actions that they don't agree with, or he's a mama's boy, and I don't like your parents don't like that. He's a mama's boy or she's a daddy's girl, so every time she needs something, she's daddy, can you? Daddy, can you? Daddy, can you?
Right. But then
Right?
that goes to the variable too. Are you gonna let your kids fly, or that's something that you address with your person first before you bring a parent into that. Like if it's a daughter calling her daddy for everything, it's probably something she been used to doing. But now you don't have to do that because essentially you have a man in your life that's going to be caring for you. So,
But we're not talking about child relationship. We're talking about the fact that now your parents don't like this person because they do that. Right? So are your parents wrong for not liking this person because they're going to the club every weekend and getting drunk?
well,
Not driving drunk, not doing anything irresponsible. They just go out every weekend.
I gave you the
They
variable. So to me, that's if you're comfortable with that, your parents don't have a say so in that. So if you don't like them because they gonna hang out with their friends every weekend and you feel like they should be with me, and that's the problem with you, they ain't coming home to you. So I don't feel like that's a reason for you not to like somebody's partner. So I'm gonna still stick with what I said.
so parents are supposed to bite their tongue and just ride it out.
It's not a biting of the tongue. It's a respect thing. And see, that's what's wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. That's a perfect example. That's what's wrong with our community now, is that everybody feel like they can say something on the fact of everybody's life. You can't say something every single time because you don't like what I'm doing or how I'm approaching it. Times change, people change, and I might have found a better way to obtain this happiness. And so you telling me I wouldn't put up with that but that's exactly why you're not happy, because you saying you ain't putting up with something, or you're not doing something, or you trying to put a clamp on somebody else, and it's not necessarily you doing that. If these people are perfectly happy doing what they're doing and they not wrong with it, who are you to interject
But
onto
if you're
that?
coming out of love, how can you not
But you're
say
not
this?
coming out of love. Everybody can come with a little bit of salt. You could hide your hand. You could throw stones to hide your hand.
Yeah, I just
And
I
as a parent, parents do that because they feel like, well, I'm your mama or I'm your daddy, and I can say no, you can't, because now I'm grown, and there got to be some type of verbiage that changed between I'm not a kid anymore. Yes, I'm gonna forever be your child. You forever gonna have that reverence, but you can't just talk to me however you want to talk to me. You can't tell me how you want or tell me how you feel and expect me to just instantly apply it to my life. That's a no no. I mean, if we got to that point, I'm not even listening to you no more. I That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Cause when am I gonna be grown in your eyes? Like this ain't got nothing to do with the respect. I respect you as being my elder, my person that gave birth to me, but I also have taken in what you taught me, and now I'm applying it to the life that I'm living. You're not living my life; you lived yours. Like I said, these are happy suggestions now that's coming from your parents. Some people might feel differently and say, "Well, my mama or my daddy say this about somebody. I'm gonna just go with that." That's you. I can't take that from you, but I think that's stupid because you should be able to form your own opinions and build your own relationships. And your parents ain't gonna be here forever. So what you gonna do when they pass?
But do you also not see how sometimes not being in that relationship, you see things that, because when you get into relationships, those blinders are on, especially when you're in that honeymoon phase. You don't see that, oh, this person is going out 3 weekends out of the month and getting drunk with their friends, or this person is,
Right.
having these habits that other people see, and your parents are coming to you out of love and saying, like, I really don't like this about this
Right.
person.
But you mixing up topics because we were saying if the person's doing that and you're fine with it versus that person doing it and it being a red flag. So which one are you referring to? Those are two different instances.
I never said that you're fine with it. I said
That's
your
what I said.
parents are not fine
Right.
with
But I
it.
said that's what I said. If you're fine with it, the premise is if that's what's making your relationship work and you're cool with it, if that person's doing whatever it is they doing and they going out, if you're cool with it, cool. Your
But when you're in
parents,
that honeymoon phase, you're okay with a lot of things until those blinders come
right?
out.
But we're not talking about honeymoon phase. We talking about if you are okay with it. So this is at any point in the relationship, not just y'all got together and you just accepting the BS that's coming. Because I preface that by saying if it's something that the partner is doing that's they shouldn't be doing, your parents have every right to say something to you. And even if they just don't like them, they have a right to express that to you. But how they come to you still need to be in a respectful manner and not like, oh, well, I'm gonna just cut my kid off for my kid stupid because they don't know. So I made two distinctions. One is if it's something that you comfortable with and you're doing what you're doing, y'all doing what y'all doing, cool. If it's just a situation that's toxic or something that you didn't see and your parents are trying to warn you, obviously take that, and bring it into consideration. Don't just dismiss it. That's just spirit. That's ignorance.
Hmm.
But I'm just saying, for me, if it's something like, oh, well, this person, every time I come over here, they watching football or they doing this, and I just feel like a husband should be outside fixing the car or doing something to the house because when I grew up, that's what they did, or they should be trying to find ways to make money to support you. And it's like, well, this is a different time and age, and I'm happy with what they providing for me, and they're doing what I need them to do. So we just gonna have to agree to disagree. So I don't think that's the reason for your parent to spaz out. And we have a lot of that going on in today's day and age. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even say it's that because nowadays I don't even feel like parents is even being parents. But that's a whole nother topic, and that's from the OGs down
What
to
are
the
parents
youngest.
being?
They being a friend. I didn't seen and heard some of the craziest stuff I've ever heard in my life about parenthood from people that are the same age as us and people that is our parents' age right now. I would never do any of those things for my
But
kids.
what do you mean they're being a friend?
That means that instead of giving them the guidance that you're talking about or telling them how to succeed, they would rather be comfortable being friends with their kid, like, oh, my kid got to be close to me. I got to know everything that's going on. So I'm going to allow them to do this. Like, one of the things that bothers me is when I hear parents say, oh, well, I don't like my kid to smoke, but if they going to smoke, I'd rather them smoke around me or smoke with me. And I'm like, you, your own person, you can do and say what you want, but why would you want that? Your kid is supposed to look at you as an example, so you can't tell them to do as I say and not what I do. Kids are always going to do what they see. So if they smoking with you, what example are you setting for them? It's not safer because they doing it with you.
And they're not gonna only do it with you.
I'm like,
What happens when they out with friends
it's
and they're
just
like, "Oh, you want to smoke?" They're not gonna be like, "Oh no, I'm not home with my mama, so I'm not going to."
right. And why would you even open that door for your kids? But again, I'm just say that ain't that's just how I feel. So if anybody's doing that, don't come attacking me. I'm just telling you how I see it. It's the
What about the parents who let their kids drink with them?
same thing. It's the same concept, and I can speak to that more than um smoking because my mama let me have some alcohol when I was younger. I wouldn't say it started a problem, but maybe who knows, maybe I wouldn't have drunk had I not done that at that time, you know. And it's different when you offering it or continuing that habit 24/7. So ain't like my mama just was a habitual alcohol drinker and she was just giving me alcohol 24/7. It was just like, oh, here go, take that spoon, bow. And it's like, oh, cool, all right, get out of my face. So, but again, times changed. That was in the 90s, and we up here in 2025, and here we are. When I say that parents are being friends to their kids, meaning you, instead of thinking logically about a situation, you buying them the newest clothes. You ain't even got these clothes, and you buying them the newest phones, and you allowing them to vent to you, but you're not giving them the advice. You kind of just agreeing with them, so you getting involved in their interactions more than you should be. Like their friends, being involved in who they date, and not really facilitating the dating phase and giving them the guidance. Like this is what you should do if you a young man or a young lady. This is how you should present
But
yourself.
is that necessarily being friends or just being more active in their life? Because
That's
I
definitely
think
been
the whole point of parenting is that nobody, in most cases, you've never been a parent before, so you're trying to figure it out too. And what you have to work on is what you feel like was successful, but what was not successful growing up, right? So like I'm sure there are some things that you do with your kids because your mama did with you, and you was like, it worked. Like it taught me this, it taught me this, it taught me that. But then there's probably other things like go pick that switch off that tree, make sure it's not a thin one, it's a thick enough one. Make like you ain't having your kids go out and pick a
right.
switch and peel the wood off till it's green so you can whoop their ass with it.
Yeah, but that's different from what I'm talking about. That's a discipline and actually taking care of your children. What I'm saying is when I say parents are being friends to their kids, meaning they aren't guiding them. They're trying to be young and live vicariously through their children. You know what I'm talking about. When you go out and you see them parents that's dressed the same as their kid, your kid is 17. Why are you dressing like this and you 40? Or why are you pulling up to the function with them trying to go hang out with them and they doing drinking and smoking and here you are drinking and smoking? Are you involved in these beefs? You think you beefing when you're younger and you nobody ain't gonna touch that ain't got nothing to do with you. It's a lot of that happens and that goes forth. And this is how you get these kids out here that don't know nothing because they never had no adult actually sit down with them and be an adult with them. If I'm acting the same age as your friends, what am I giving you as your parent?
Do you feel
Now,
like that's a young parent issue or an
no, I
older
feel
parent
like
issue?
that's an older parent issue because now you're starting to see the grandmas and the aunties exhibit the same behavior. Now, if we go back to when we had aunties and great grandmas, your great grandma wasn't out here twerking and doing nothing crazy like that. Your great grandma would jack everybody up in the house. It don't matter who you was. Come in her house yelling. Come in here cussing, using profanity. You come in here and mess something up. See what happened. Ain't no more fear or discipline. It's just like, oh, we just gonna do whatever, and we just gonna cut off this person, and it's just me and you against the world, baby. And it's a real thin line between that. Now, when you talking about when you say it's methods that my mom used when me growing up versus me taking that and using it to help facilitate the growth of my children, that's different because I'm actually being a parent over them. Like you shouldn't do that, or if your feelings get hurt, tell somebody you hurt your feelings, or apologize when you're wrong, or tell the truth. Don't tell lies. That's different versus me going with him to his friend's house and I'm trying to do what they're doing, or I'm trying to be involved in every interaction with them, or I'm not acting like an adult.
But when I also say that, I mean in the fact that like some people were like, my parents were strict, and maybe their parents were, maybe they weren't, but they're like, my parents are strict. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, my parents whooped my butt. I'm not gonna do that. So, do you feel like in a lot of those instances they become more friendly or more open to being friends?
No, because that's still talking about a responsible parent. We're talking about the parents that now we'll add in that's young and being a parent, because these younger people are turning into the aunties and the uncles, so they ain't never learned because they ain't never had nobody like humble them in a sense. You can't humble or say nothing to nobody. You can see somebody kid acting up or doing something, and you say something. Now everybody want to fight. But your
Right.
kid was
Don't
out of pocket.
you say that to your own sister? Don't tell my kid what to do. It's like I'm that kid's auntie.
Right. Or
I'm saying don't flip off the couch because you're gonna hurt yourself.
right. Or I'm saying don't raise your voice at your mama. I can say what I want to my kid. You can, but since when can I not say nothing if I'm an adult? So if your kid ran into the street, you still don't want me to tell them to get out the street. So it's the same thing. That's just something that's irritating when I see that, and I see it more often than not. I'm not saying don't be involved in your kids' lives and do activities with them. I'm saying don't try to be 17 again and you 50.
See, and I think that's more of a younger generation issue. And I say that meaning when I say younger generation, I mean like you had your kid when you were young. Because I feel like now that your kid's getting older and able to take care of themselves when you're not around, or even doing things that you didn't get to do when you were their age, you're like, oh, I'm still young. No, ma'am, you're 38. You're 36. You do not need to be hanging out with these 17-year-olds talking about, I still look good. Ma'am, you look every bit of your age.
Right. But you know what I'm talking about when you go in the store and you could tell that the parents is way too involved in their kids' life.
Yeah.
And not in a positive way. I'm saying when I say involved, I don't mean like let's use you. You go to the volleyball games, you go to all the practices for gymnastics. That's being involved in a positive way. And then when the girls get discouraged, you give them words of encouragement and you help them. They don't see you out
Get your shit
here
together.
acting up, acting beside yourself, or if they got a sleepover and you trying to be upstairs under a pink blanket talking about some what we doing today.
Well, I also have girls, so that's just awkward.
Right. But I'm just saying, but you get what I'm saying.
But I feel like with my nephews, like that's what's hard because like with my nephews, I've been going and hanging out with my nephew and his friends since they was 12, and they'd be like, "Oh, you want to go to this wrestling event, or you want to do this?" And I'm like, I joke around with them. I play like, and as they've grown into men now because they're all 18, 19 at this point, like they all call me Unc. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Because I was about to talk myself. They call me Unc, but I ain't going out and hanging out with them. I might play basketball with them or sport with them, but I'm not sitting there like, oh, let's go to the mall and hang out or let's.
Right. But you know why they do that? Because they reverence you and they put you as he is an adult. So if I'm in trouble or something happens, he can help me. When you are not in that role or kids don't look at you like that, they bring you into the situation and treat you as if you guys don't know what to do. So it's a revolving door. Oh, I don't know what to do. We didn't so and so didn't wreck the car. We didn't did this. And now you look dumb trying to hide it and cover it up when you supposed to command control of the situation. And it goes back to what we joke about. And it's funny that they bring that back. So they like, oh well, I'm not one of your little friends. Well, how many times have we heard that? And so now instead of saying it, we show it. I'm not one of your little friends. So when something happens or it's above your knowledge level, this is a parent level event. This is adults now. It's not in your hands. You need to sit down before I put my hands on you. And there's no distinction between that no more. And that's what I teach my boys. You tried everything that you could possibly do. You did what you know how to do. You tried to improvise on it. You tried to MacGyver it. Now you done brought the situation to me. I said what I said. It's time for you to get out the way and for me to do what I need to do. It's not for me to meet you at your level and then act like you. What am I teaching you if I do that?
I will say, I I'm getting where you're at now too, because I remember when we worked together, we would see so many like people, and when they're and this is gonna sound bad.
Nope, let it out.
When you see them from behind, it looks like they're all the same age, just based on how they're dressed. Oh, our shoes got to match. We got to look similar to that. And then they turn around and it's a 40-some-year-old woman
Mm-hmm.
with her 21-year-old daughter, and they about to go to the club.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying there doesn't come like events where we go out and celebrate y'all, and maybe you do go out and do something with them, but to be that attached is crazy.
Yeah, it's real crazy. And like honestly, think about it like this. You shouldn't have to question your child because you're teaching them those type of sneaky ways. So then they grow up trying to be cool and hide stuff and tuck it under and make excuses for their kids. They're not holding them accountable. These kids suffer from not being able to take a loss, or they don't know how to handle their emotions. They don't know how to do their coping mechanism is, oh, I'm gonna smoke a blunt, or I'm gonna go drink a bottle, or I'm gonna go out and have sex because my mama cool with it, whatever. She always gonna help me. Now I got this baby that she gonna help take care of the baby, and I'm gonna still do what I want to do.
See, and I guess
we didn't grow up with that mentality. We had those same pressures, but the mentality was like, man, if I had a baby right now, I know my mama would be disappointed in me. Is she gonna help me? Yes, because she loves me. She gonna support, but she would prefer for me not to have that because she want me to do something better.
I guess on that one, I agree partially, but I feel like the difference with that is we allow kids to feel nowadays. And I felt like, honestly, we couldn't feel.
Nah.
Like, you be like, Mom, I'm stressed. What you stressed about? You ain't got to pay no bills. You ain't got no job. You ain't got this. You ain't got that. Like, damn, that mean I can't be stressed? Only thing you got to do is go to school and make good grades.
Yeah, but going to school is like going to prison every day.
Right. We walking in with metal detectors.
Put that out there.
Since 6th grade, we literally walk in with metal detectors, and they wanding us down if we set it off, and it's just like
they was talking about that today. My nieces and nephews are talking about which schools got metal detectors and what don't. They was like, they only got metal detectors when you get to high school. I said, what school y'all going to? Because as soon as we got to Northwest, before it became Carl B. Bruce, when you walked through me.
Every middle school in KCK I've been to so far has had metal detectors.
I'm like, we got metal detectors, metal doors. They got special doors you can't open on top of the fire doors and some more stuff. And I'm like, and then Wyandotte got fancy. I don't know where we got the funds from, but they had the ones you could walk through and the airport security bag. So now you got to throw your backpack on there and then scan.
As soon as they got
there.
Laptops.
Yeah.
It was like, now we got a reason to scan your bag because it's going to go off every metal detector.
Yeah, well, it was like, so when none of that, and you still got the wine and the frisk. And then when, things hit the fan in the later, early part of 2000s, we had to start taking our shoes off. So that's jail. Yeah.
I didn't. I don't remember that.
It was like,
but that might have been like my
that was
last
like
year.
2007, 2008ish.
Okay.
Where we had, they didn't do it every time, but if it, it depends on who was up there.
So I didn't have to do that because I
came later in the day.
I took the bus out to KCKCC, and so because I came later in the day, security and them wasn't at the metal detectors anymore, so I just walked in.
Right, they just pushed them to the side. Yeah. But I'm just saying that the kids was talking about that, and I'm like, y'all funny. We been having metal detectors, boy. This ain't nothing new. So somebody winded me, ain't. It's not foreign.
So this brings me back to the conversation we had at the gym the other day, right? About how in a previous episode I mentioned a teacher that I had,
mm-hmm.
And you called me out about it and about the perceived hatred that I have for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, like, it's not that I necessarily hate him. I hate what he represents, which for a lot of inner city Black students, Hispanic students, people of color, that is the fact that teachers do not truly care about you. Most of our teachers that we have do not truly care about you. You may find one, two, three throughout that time frame. Like I told you, we had Rosie Maloney, we had Terry Johnson, we
Oh,
had
you just name
Katie
dropping.
Pence. I say this because like I want those teachers to be acknowledged. Like, and a lot of people who watch this, who went to school with us, they know. They know. So it's like, yeah, you might want to fix that. The
It's still going, but the camera
so what I'm saying with that is that like we didn't really have I told you I had one teacher in middle school who truly felt like she cared. I had one teacher in high school that I truly felt like she cared. And it just makes it hard because a lot of people don't get that until they get to that space. So, y'all, we're going to take a quick break real quick. We'll be back up once we get the technical issues fixed here. All right, thank y'all for y'all patience. We back with it. But yeah, what I was saying with that is that I felt like for a lot of us, we don't get the care that people that are not in our communities get from teachers at a young age.
No, we don't. And what I was trying to, I don't know if I conveyed the message to you, is I understood what you were saying when you say that, but I was just focused on the part of you letting that other part go. Like, I just, to me, when something's not as, what you call it, in the forefront,
Yeah.
then I don't speak on it because what's understood don't got to be said. So we already grown up in an urban area. We already knew how that was hitting for. So I appreciate the 2 4 teachers that we got along the way, because that's all we needed was just that to go forward. Anybody else, we was just beating the stigma to begin with in the first place. So that didn't affect me like it affected you, because I had him in more classes than you did, and him talking, my way of getting past whatever he say, no matter what he said to me, is I passed all of your classes. So you didn't just give me an A because you like me. So if you really felt this way, I did this work. Nobody like helped me. It was me and my friends in here. Me and my friends is a multicultural group. And so at the end of the day, you can't really say nothing to me. So you could say that applied to some of the people that did go there and didn't become nothing or do anything. But at the end of the day, you didn't stunt my growth. Now, should you say those things or act that way to students in the classroom or who come into the school? No, because you could affect someone, or you could have somebody feeling the way that you felt. And that's a disgusting way to treat children or young adults or people that's trying to travel through life. So I completely agree with you on that standpoint, but we already had that to begin with. And some people was even worse than him. But you're not gonna get my energy or my time. And I found solace in the group that was formed, and then the people who pushed us, and pulled us out of some of that stuff. Like I said, we wasn't the worst of the worst, but for somebody to stop what they're doing outside of their time when the paycheck wasn't racking up time for them and tell me something about life, that's different.
Now, you say you found solace in the group that was formed. Do you feel like you formed trauma bonds at that time?
No, not at all. My friendships or that I have, and I don't even call those friendships, and I'm gonna say it for context purposes. The friendships that I formed was everlasting bonds, and because we're not in that same trauma now, we're full blown adults, and so we've seen many a different thing that have withstood the test of time. So if we weren't gonna make it or not be cool, we wouldn't be here today. And it's different things that we all encounter where one another wasn't around to help push or encourage or do something, and yet we still standing, we still here. So I think that the selection that was made was true bonding and not, oh, because I'm down bad and you down bad, we gang for life.
Well, it's not necessarily that y'all was down bad, but it's just y'all were both in a traumatic environment at the same time, right? So a bond is built because what we share in common right now is that we both are in the hood. We both, like, our mamas are single mothers raising us, or whatever the situation is at that time, where, like, you built that bond based off of the fact that, you know, you had to watch yourself and they had to watch themselves, and it was like, man, this person reminds me more of me than I thought.
Well, even in that standard, I'm still gonna say no, because when I didn't, that's not the reason I decided to start a friendship with you. I was just a friendly kid, and boom, jumped up there, and we had a lot of stuff in common because I didn't even think nothing about
But
that.
yeah, but I feel like that's what's different with ours. It's like when we met, we didn't bond over, like, we didn't go to the same elementary school. We literally met the first day of sixth grade, and we bonded over Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
Right. So it wasn't
so
like a trauma situation or nothing like that.
right.
But you do have people who, like, y'all live in the same neighborhood and y'all grew up because of the environment that y'all were in. Y'all grew up together and y'all bonded and grew up.
Now I say people can form those bonds, but the bonds that I'm talking about for me didn't come from trauma bonds, because I now were there people outside of the inner circle that came from something like that, probably, most likely, but the ones that's in the core didn't come from that.
I think there are, for me, there were some trauma bonds. And then I think those kind of tapered off as they chose to stay in the trauma rather than work out of it, like kind of what we did, right? Because it's still America. We know how it is for us. Let's just be honest. We know how it is for us. But I feel like to a certain degree, you have to take accountability and work on your own stuff. Like, I have seen older generations of us who've gone through the water hoses being shot on them, at them, and all of this, and now you look at them and it's like, yeah, you were 17, 16 at that time. Now you're in your 60s, 70s, or whatever, and you may not have a lot compared to where you should be. You don't have a lot, but looking at where you came from, you have plentiful, because you worked, you put your head down, you did what you had to do to take care of your family. You didn't try to go out here and showboat and do whatever. You did what you needed to do to set up your kids and your family to do more than that. And I feel like some of the people we bonded with at that time don't think like that. Like, you're in your 30s, and throw back to the TV show, but you're in your 30s living at home, not working. When I see you, you're walking around on the street oh, what's up, Mike, man? What's going on? Da, da, da. Yeah, and I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna say what's up because like there's still that I still got that love for you from how we grew up and what we grew up with, but also like I can't save you in a certain aspect if you're not willing to put in that same work.
Yeah, but all you talking about is peaking. Some people peak, bro. They peak in high school. Again, it's just some. You would think that I'm just like the most conceited person on earth by the way I speak, but this is just me. Some people peak. You peak in high school, and peaking is just like lifting weights. Like, boy, you peaked out at 220. You're not lifting no more, no less. That's you, 24/7. You gonna live off them glories until you die. So you're gonna be 50 something years old still talking about when you was the MVP in basketball 2005 and you still got your jacket and whatever. You should be creating new memories and new legacies, new footprints, new uh, accomplishments, but instead you're not. So some of those people, those are the people I'm talking about that's on the outer ring. So if we talking about trauma bonds with them, yeah, we got some trauma bonds with some people like that, but at the end of the day, like you said, I can't save you, and that it's not even me trying to be disrespectful, but you're just not a factor or a forefront in my life. And it ain't saying that I got somewhere you can't get, because I feel like everybody should get to a place that I mean, I want everybody to experience peace. I'm one of the people that want everybody to be happy, but I'm also a realist. I know that that's not going to be the case, and with a lot of underhanded and dirty tactics going on, and you can't just dap up everybody. And now that I didn't reproduce, I just can't be around certain folks, or they can't be around my family. You can't be around my wife. You can't be around my sons because I ain't teaching them now. I don't want them to see that or be you trying to dap up with me like we still in the 7th grade or no, like the 10th grade. The 10th and 11th grade, it was really popping.
Yeah.
But like I'm not on that. So why would I want you to come around and us still living that zone? Like it's a piece. Like nah, bro. At some point, I'm trying to get a new crib. Like when you come to my crib, nah, bro, it ain't like how it was back in the day. You gotta take your shoes off when you come in here. And now, like people get mad at me because I tell them they can't roll up the Zai in my house. You can't roll up in here because I don't smoke. So why are you smoking in my house? No, no. And then you got to respect the fact that I'm married. So if I'm not one that, even if I was like, all right, whatever, bro, you gang, and my wife coming in and say, that's a no, bro, because you don't got to live here.
And you better not say nothing.
Because then I got to fold you. You have challenged me in my own village. And then you show, you know what I'm saying, teaching my kids crazy stuff. Don't shake up with my kids. He don't know nothing about that. My son he just know
He's
daddy
a healthy
discipline me.
Christian loving boy.
He just do what he do. We hear other kids acting up and see I can't control all that. He need to see that. But he know that ain't where I came from. That ain't what I'm seeing. Well, my daddy didn't do that. I don't know what your daddy doing.
Right.
My daddy didn't get in the oven. But now I'm just saying the stuff like that because I see people out. I say hey to you real quick, and then matter of fact, that's a lie because you just seen me see some people we know, and I ain't say nothing to them. I ain't even acknowledge.
I know.
them.
I've seen some people we know, and I'm like, if they say something to me, I'll speak. But 9 times out of 10, I look away. They look away. I'm like, cool.
I ain't mad at nobody, but it's just certain folks that I just prefer not to be speaking with because I already know what type of time you on, and I see it.
That's what's different.
I see it
because it could be if you ain't in my close circle right now, I'm not gonna say nothing unless you speak, and that's the difference. You looking at people that you would prefer to stay. I'm talking about it, almost anybody, because I just don't like talking to people. I guess that's just me. Like I feel like my job has me talking to so many different people that when I'm out and about, like I'm like mission focused, and if something's throwing me off, I'm like, I really don't want to take because it might go. It could be a "What's up, bro? I ain't seen you in forever." Okay, cool. And it might be a 30-second conversation. All right, bro. Hey, yeah, add me on Instagram or something like. Or it could turn in like today when I went to the store, I ran into Thailand. That's that you should know who I'm talking about. Thailand. And that conversation was easily going into a 10-minute conversation all off of what's up, Thailand? And then finally somebody came up and said something to Thailand, and I was like, this is my chance to get away. All right, Thailand, I'll catch you later. And but I feel like you never know how those conversations gonna go. So I'd rather just not say nothing.
Man, I just
Then
don't
take
even.
that
I just
risk.
don't. I didn't say I go up to nobody because I don't be bothered with it. I just don't. Like really, I'm a real simple man, and I like my solitude. I don't. All that other stuff's irrelevant to me, man. But back to the original thing, I might have trauma bonded with some people in the outer circle. My inner circle didn't come from trauma bonds. That came from genuine friendships and stuff. That we get in the hustle and bustle of being adults, but then at the end we got that core. This is how we met, man. It's crazy, whatever. And then it ain't nothing like seeing the bonds that you form when people still thrive because y'all still alive.
I think I got one inner circle who I trauma bonded with, but then it became more than that. And even like today, we still talk, we still cool, we still like relive memories of what we did in those crazy ass days, right? But I feel like that's the only trauma bond that I keep close. And that's because it became more of kind of like with us, more of like family than anything. So it's hard to kind of for me to let that go. And for everybody else, I feel like we were cool, but we weren't like family. So it's a little bit easier to see them and be like, "Oh, what's up?" and make it just a quick casual conversation. But if I saw this person, it's like, "What's going on with you? Like, where we at? Tell me about life. How's your kids? How's your wife? How's your family? Like all of that." So
Yeah, but it's people that be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And they gotta ask you if you still cool with me.
oh yeah, I
That
get that
that
all the
that
time.
that lets you
You
know where you
you
are.
still talk to Duran? You still talk to Isaac? You still
That
talk to
that should let
Damien? Be like,
that should let
yes,
that should let you
yes.
know.
These bonds ain't going nowhere, my boy. they ain't going nowhere. Like, but that also tell you like they knew we was a small circle. That's who we mess with.
Yeah,
And that, I mean, that ain't going nowhere. So
and that's how that cookie crumble. But yeah,
well, I think tonight should be a quick night, man. We started a little late. We done hit what, an hour and 10 minutes.
to allegedly, but we can wrap it up. We just thank everybody for tuning in. We know usually we don't shoot on Sundays, but life be life, and
Life
we
is
out
hard.
here trying to get swole. So results pending for the summertime. Y'all be on the lookout. Y'all
About to
make
look
sure
like a whole new man this summer. I'm telling y'all.
y'all like, comment, subscribe, and again, thank y'all for popping out. For the people who did join, for the people that's gonna watch tomorrow, for the rest of the week, we appreciate you. We out this piece.
Peace.